All right, we have a scoreless bore or draw in the Parramatta Stadium. What's it called now? Combank?
Yeah, Combank Stadium, I think.
Combank Stadium, and we have the fabulous Dani Alves returning to Camp Nou, huh? And a whole lot of nothing, huh? In episode 101, can you believe it? Wow, wow! Play the music. Play it, play it, play
It's Danny Alves' theme
it. Oh, is that Dani Alves' music? Oh my goodness. Well, look, before before we get there, before we get to all the old soft serve head, remember when we had the soft serve, the little
song.
poo,
That's
the
true.
shit emoji on his head? That's
What a
crazy,
weirdo.
crazy stuff. Um, Socceroos played against Saudi Arabia
Mm.
in Combank Stadium. I keep going to say Combank Arena.
Yeah, I think it's just Combank Stadium because Bank West Stadium before, and then
Yeah,
Combank and Bank West are owned by the same company. Yeah, corporate,
hey,
corporate, blah blah blah.
whatever. Either way, bore or draw, absolutely nothing. Um, not that there wasn't chances. Obviously, there was chances. I wouldn't say they were well created or any well constructed chances, but
Mm.
chances nonetheless.
Or any
But
good edge chances.
yeah, overall, a relatively poor performance. I'd say.
Mm.
What did you take away from the game, if anything?
The main takeaway, two big ones. Nabot should just quit international football altogether.
Oh,
He's
scathing.
he played. Look, he didn't play football for 6 months. Understandable, right? He's probably a little rusty,
Yep.
and I get that. But you played 15 minutes and you had no effort. Like you've been off for 6 months. First game in a long time for your national team. You got to be keen to at least show some energy, make a difference, especially if you're brought on to bring bit more of an attacking threat. Um, there's that, and also just how clueless Graham Arnold is in his tactics, in his lineups. Like, look, a national team is you don't spend much time with them, and it's hard to get a system across. But you are in charge of selection. You are in charge of telling them what to do, and it literally looked like there were no instructions on the pitch for anyone. There was no out and out striker. The fact that Jamie McLaren doesn't get brought on to or even start up top to give some sort of forward presence, to at least make it easy. Give someone for Hrustic to give a ball too, because look, at the end of the day, he cannot be the playmaker and the striker. That's what he was doing the whole game.
Yeah.
He tried to
Yeah.
finish his own chances, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's not enough. Maybe this is I guess a symptom of the generation, or maybe a symptom of Arnie's selection, but just no technical ability in the midfield. There's just like the whole team outside of the defenders are just runners. They just run. There's no technical or guile about their game or IQ or anything like that. Like Jackson Irvine just runs. That's all he does. Mabil was okay. Poor touches a lot of the time and shooting when he should be passing and passing when he'd be shooting. I'm blanking on the guy that plays for Hibs. Got fouled a lot. The name is eluding me now. I can't remember.
Do you want to pull up the lineup?
Yeah, pull up the lineup. But yeah, he plays for Hibs on the right side. I can't remember his name. I think he's got like one of those forgetful names. But yeah, he's
One
just
of those forgetful names,
yeah, he was just running. And Aziz Bates, like surely we have a better left back than Aziz Bates. Surely there's someone better than him because I don't think he's. I literally think that he can't be the best choice there. Like I'd
No,
rather.
no, no. There's definitely like look, maybe if you're talking about like just pure like pedigree and status
Mm,
amongst where they play and all that, maybe
mm,
not, I suppose. But there's gotta be several young players that could like who's that young fellow that plays for Sydney FC, the left back? Josh
uh,
King?
yeah, I think it's Josh King. I think it
Josh
might be.
King, like, why not give like it's not like left back is that position where you really need to make sure you've got the utmost professionalism in there. Like, you take a bit
Mm,
of a risk, especially
mm.
if you're going to field a team where there really isn't like any. There's nothing there in terms of building for the future. There's no risk taking. There's no like, let's give this guy a run, see how he goes. There's no
Yeah,
giving someone their first cap. There's none of that's happening. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Um,
Everyone's got
it's
relatively low caps in the team.
it's like the most conservative, no nonsense sort of choices the whole way
Mm,
through, and no nonsense in like, let's just be pragmatic, but in the sense of like, I'm gonna pick the lineup where I'm just not gonna gamble nothing. I'm not gonna
mm,
use any sort of uh coaching hubris to try and figure out like who's gonna be the best fit where. It's
mm,
just like, I'm just gonna pick the 11 players that come up first in my list when I sort by most international appearances. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, it's there's no real like, I don't see, if this ended today, if the World Cup qualifiers ended today, I don't know what we're gonna do into the World Cup. Like,
Oh yeah, that was my thought
what's the
too. Yeah.
what's the move? Like, you've got your impact subs have no impact, right?
Mm,
You're playing strikerless when you don't need to, so it's like he's making a tactical choice to do that, right?
mm,
But it's not working out at all. So that game plan sort of just, inexistent and moot. You're not bringing on young players and giving them a chance to get some experience before they go into the big tournament. So like, what are we using this experience for? Is anything happening
mm.
really?
Yeah, no, and I think that the to your point, yeah, I think get some youngsters in there, get more game time to some of the blokes that were at the Olympics. Like they played, a lot of them were pretty good. Again, it is well, some of them were professional. Like if you look at Spain's team, they're all first team players or in and about the first team, and they gave it a good run. Give them. I'm blanking on the name. The young Italian left winger, not
Tilio,
Zul, Tilio. That's it. Yeah, give
no,
Tilio a run
look,
on the left side.
if
Give
if if
Riley
you
McGree a go. He's playing great in the championship. Start him. Do
no, no,
something.
if you're talking about, if we're going to go down the rabbit hole of team selection,
Mm,
it's abysmal,
mm,
because there's it's not like the players that are coming from overseas are coming from like, Barcelona,
mm,
or some massive club where, you absolutely have to give them the shout over the local boys, because they're coming from a different sort of cut of cloth, right?
mm.
These guys are, even the guys that play at, high level clubs, they're second stringers at most. They're not in the first team. I think it's much more important to get a person that's playing regular football and has high confidence, right?
Mm,
Especially ones that have come off the good Olympics, right? Have good performances in the Olympics, and give
mm.
them chances to shine here. In my opinion, Tilio would have done great in this game. That would have been a
Yeah,
terrific,
100%.
And then on a lesser, on a more of a less hot take angle, Jamin McLaren has to be in the team. It makes absolutely
Mm,
no sense. The guy is leading goal scorer multiple times in the A League, right?
mm.
You need a goal scorer on your team. It's almost a no brainer. You don't have to do any scouting, bro. Like, you need someone that scores goals. I have an idea. Maybe the guy who scores goals for a living, perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe select him. I don't know if he's had an injury at some point, or if you relied on him at one point in his stint as manager and he let him down, and he's no longer willing to count on him. But for whatever reason, it's just like, there's no there's no logic behind why he's not involved more.
Yeah, it's look, and I get it. He's had a couple of rough games in the national team, and that's fine. I get it. If you want to use prior performances to be indicator of future, that's fair enough. But give him a crack. Let him come off the bench at least. Yeah, I reckon if he was against the Saudis and he came on the off the bench, at least I would have gone. Well, at least you tried it. Didn't work out.
Yeah,
McLaren, you stuck. Move on or do something. But the fact that Aziz Beige still gets picked, even though we've watched him go from a title-winning team at Başakşehir down to a mid-table Turkish team. We've seen him caught two costly errors against Japan. He still gets picked now. Doesn't have the greatest of games. You
yeah,
know, I'm just trying to think. Jackson Irvine, like again,
yeah,
he's good next to someone that might be able to do the technical side of things, but he was just running around, just kind of
yeah.
just meandering about, no creativity. Tom Rogic, I don't have any hope for either.
Mm.
Hrustic is a
You
good
know,
one.
You know, my thing about Hrustic was, and it's not really much of an indictment of him as his playing ability, of course, but
Mm,
like I thought it was a bit strange that, do you remember in the first like 30, 40 minutes, he was obviously doing well, he created a few chances, all that sort of
mm,
stuff. But around the 30, 40 minute mark, he had that run in with that
mm.
Saudi on the touchline where
Yeah,
they got a bit argy bargy at each other.
yeah, yeah.
After that, bloke disappeared.
Yeah,
Like he was
well,
just
everyone
gone.
did. As soon as they got in, as soon as the Saudis started playing mind games and rolling around and
It was done,
wasting
right?
time, they rattled their cage, and like you can't let everyone. The commentators were Simon Hill was making comments that this is what they do, this is what Saudis are known for, some of the best in Asia at the dark art, blah blah blah. But I think like look, the players can. I understand when players get frustrated. I mean, even in on a park level game, you get
Mhm.
frustrated with people that waste time or take the piss or play the dark arts. But as professionals, I think what's his name? Graham should say, "Look, boys, keep your head together. We can't let them get back into the game through shithousery." You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
The thing what Aussies do best across all the sports is give back shithousery.
yeah,
It's what we do in cricket, in basketball, in union league, whatever it is. The
yeah.
best thing the Aussies are good at is taking the piss and shit, stirring shit. You
I
can't
think
let us be
I think
stirred.
it's a I think it's a symptom of this sort of just not being the best generation at the moment, in
Mm,
the sense that like maybe on okay, so if you don't want to want to take if you don't want to be objective about it and you want to look at like how good the players are individually and weigh them up yeah, player by player, who's better, this team or 5, 10 years ago. But if you just want to take on a fact of personalities alone, significantly less strength in character in this
mm,
national side as there were, teams past.
mm,
There's no real true leader in the team. It sort of
mm,
kind of bounces around between a few guys. There's no one really that they count on to be the performer, that
mm,
rises above expectations and carries them across the line. So I feel like now they're at a stage where you can get in their head. They're vulnerable. You know what I mean? And when you go up against a team like the Saudis that do it all the way through, and another thing as well, the the Saudi fan base in the stadium was really making noise, and
mm.
at some points it felt like the Saudis were playing at home. That's how loud they were
Yeah,
being.
yeah.
So when you let a team like that get some momentum, that's why they had the last 10 minutes. To be honest, like the last 10 minutes
Mm,
was all the Saudis. They had two or three chances. They had that great 1-2 where the guy bobbled it up to him, and he sort of
mhm.
almost snuck it in the bottom corner.
Yeah,
Um,
great saves by Matty Ryan as well towards the end. I just look, the crowd support was good throughout the game. Obviously, in pockets of it, you could hear the Saudis. Obviously, you can't,
yeah,
you can't when a team's hot or you can or they can smell a goal. Obviously, the crowd is going to be rambunctious. But I thought the crowd support was good. It was good to see everyone still there fighting singing and dancing in the rain.
yeah.
But yeah, it's. I just think like if your best player on the pitch or on the team is a centre back like Harry Suter, I think that's a big oh.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Hey,
a concern.
speaking of uh-ohs, how about his leg, bro? That's
Yeah, I haven't heard. Yeah, I haven't heard if it's torn his ACL or torn a ligament in his knee, but I know it is something knee ligament related. Um, he probably won't play against China. I believe tonight they play
yeah,
1:30 or tomorrow morning at 1:30.
yeah,
And Nabut has been sent home.
yeah,
Yeah, don't but well not sent home, but he's been left off the plane to Dubai to play his game for Melbourne City, which is I guess speaks more to my frustrations with his stint on the pitch.
But it's kind of like, man, if this guy can play bad enough that his bad performance, because what did he play, 10, 20 minutes, right?
About 15, yeah.
Like if a guy can play 10 or 20 minutes and that's enough for you to want to send him home before the second game, why'd you pick him in the first place?
Yeah, if you know that guy hasn't played football in 6 months, why pick him? Or
Yeah.
you send him home after a game.
Why
At least,
play him? Like, if you bring him because he's a locker room guy or something, yeah, fair enough. But like, why
yeah,
play him? What about
yeah.
all the other guys that you kept for this second trip that didn't play that first game? Right?
Mm,
Why not
mm,
have played them instead? If he was on such a short leash, why'd you play him? It makes it to me it's even dumber because it's
Mm.
like I get it. He's admitting his mistake. He's not wasting the player's time. Fair enough. It's probably the professional thing to do, but at the same time, it just highlights how dumb you were in the first place.
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
That this guy can turn you off so much. Do you send him home for the second game?
Yeah,
Why even
you
bring him?
can't even stick to your you can't even stick to your guns on your player selection. So
Yeah, well,
yeah, it's just bizarre. I think we need a change up in the coach. Someone with a new, fresh approach, can be international or someone local, and just give them a crack. Let's see how they go. You know, let's do something different.
dude, in all honesty, I would just want to see someone come in that's more willing to give a shot to the domestic players, to the younger
Mm,
players, and just get this next generation in and moving. I feel
mm,
like overall Australian football has been on the upswing. If you watch the
mm,
A League, the quality of football has risen quite a bit. But when you go and watch the way the national team plays, I don't expect them to play this high level football when they're against the quality talent across the world. But at least in our Asian qualifiers, we should start to rise above the rest a little more.
mm.
You know,
We're Asian Cup winners.
exactly. So it should be better tactics, more progressive football. Try to dominate games a bit more, so that at least there's something to build towards. I mean,
Mm,
if you really like, let's say the team that played against what's it called, Saudi Arabia, even at full flight, how good could they honestly have looked? How good could that
mm,
team have looked? Not very good.
mm,
It's
mm,
very, very conservative football that they were playing. So,
mm,
like, was that something you want to build towards? Not really. I want someone that comes in and puts together a project that's a bit more exciting to get behind rather
mm,
than let's just play results based football. Like, dude, you're in the
yeah,
Asian qualifiers. You're going to qualify. No matter how
yeah.
you play, you're going to qualify.
One
Put
of yeah.
some football together that we can be proud of. That's
And
it.
what and one of the higher ranked and bigger nations in the continent in
Oh,
football. So you have to lead from the front. You can't be scared of Saudi Arabia. Like they're in up there against with the bigger teams in the Asian continent, but they
yeah.
haven't qualified for a lot of World Cups recently. We've been there at least 3 or 4 consecutively now, and we won the Asian Cup as well, which I don't think Saudi Arabia has done in a while or ever. So we should be pushing these teams aside. I think they brought up a stat where Saudis, I think in the last couple of visits, they haven't even gotten a point, or they've been at most a draw. You know,
Yeah.
so we have to be, playing as one of the better nations on the continent. You can't expect Germany or France or Belgium in their qualifiers to be playing defensive. They all attack their opponents. They all
Yeah.
progressively lead. And yes, the quality is better, but relatively speaking, Australia's quality in Asia
Yeah.
is I guess not I guess the same, but similar. It's better than definitely Vietnam, China. Japan's probably one of the only ones that are legitimately better out and out technically and player for player. But
Yeah.
not many countries outside of Japan really come close to Australia in terms of quality and depth.
Yeah, no, not at all. That's what I'm saying. It's even if we were playing a more progressive style and somehow dropping some results here and there, I just like the fact that it's progressing towards something where eventually it'll become more successful and effective. Like
Mm,
no matter how well this system goes, it's never going to be the sort of foundation you want to set to build something for the future. It's always just going to be patchwork so that we can get to the next World Cup, and it's nickel and diming. It's not really building
mm,
for the future. I think
mm,
Australia is not, it's not, we're not Brazil, we're not Germany, we're not an established force in football. So why play this conservative style as if you want to keep what you've got? What have you got? You've got nothing. So
mm,
let's build for the future. Let's think of it as like we're a young sporting nation that has a lot of quality, a lot of how can I say infrastructure for
mm,
sports. Let's
mm,
give the people something excited to get behind, right? Play some
mm,
exciting football, maybe lose a couple games, but score a lot of goals. I think that's the
mm,
kind of football Australians would like to get behind. That's what I
mm,
see people getting excited for. People don't really want to tune in to watch us play Saudi Arabia in Parramatta Stadium and it's a 0-0 game. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like, come on, bro. Like, you're gonna give us a bit more than that if you want to actually change the face of Australian football. I think whoever takes um, the Australian national team and tries to not rebrand them, so to speak, but like give them an overhaul in terms of how they approach the game of football overall. I think he's going to be someone very important for the narrative of football in Australia because I think we're in a trigger point at the moment. It just needs someone to really come in, some sort of savant, like how Marcelo Bielsa did with Leeds, for example. Someone coming in and really giving them some sort of inspiration to get behind.
100%, 100%. I agree, definitely. And look, hopefully, we do see that change, and we're able to get behind the boys playing some more attractive football.
Yeah. Now, look, let's get around some hot goss, because we're on international break at the moment, so may as well cover some news stories because there's some things happen on.
Yeah, there's a lot of new faces in new places. So, in case you missed it, Gerrard is the new Villa manager, announced a couple of days ago. He's taken the reins. I think that's a smart appointment. It's a good appointment. Little risk, of course. We don't know. Rangers versus Villa isn't quite this on the same level, but he has played in the Europa League. He's gone undefeated in the season. Stopped Celtic getting 10 in a row. Like he's been able to build up a team in his own identity and create a club and all that stuff. So hopefully,
do you know much about the football that they've been playing?
It was attacking. I know it was attacking and it was very good looking on the eye. Very much counter attacking type of football. Can't say I've watched a lot of Rangers. So, I mean, if there's any Rangers fans that want to give us a bit of better insight, then that'd be nice. But yeah, I think he plays some good football. And I'm just keen to see how he does on a big job. What he does differently to someone of his ilk like Lampard. Where do his differences come up when the teams come out, when the pressure comes on? Obviously Lampard and Chelsea and Villa and Steve are not quite the same caliber, but it's interesting to see how two guys that were in the same generation behave and react as managers.
Do you feel as if we're going into an era now, at least in the Premier League, because with Messi and Ronaldo sort of drifting away from the spotlight due to age and their careers kind of going to the twilight, and Mbappe and Haaland sort of not really lighting the world on fire the way that Messi and Ronaldo did. Maybe just purely because Messi and Ronaldo are still around, therefore taking some limelight. But the spotlight that's on those two players isn't as big as the spotlight that was on Messi and Ronaldo in their early days. I feel like now because of that, there's a room for coaches' personalities to sort of become more of a narrative. And I think specifically in the Premier League, when you look at how many blockbuster coaches there are, especially now with Gerrard going in, and if Lampard ends up with a job somewhere, then you're going to have Lampard, Gerrard, Klopp, Pep, Conte, Tommy Tuchel, all in the one league, and Zidane's popping up. He could pop up in the Man United job or something like that. Could have like an all-star league in terms of the coaching talent that's there. I feel like the coach is much more of a figure in terms of what players, what people get behind. For clubs than it was previously. I mean, obviously with Man United and Alex Ferguson or Mourinho at Chelsea in the early days, it's been a thing before, but I just didn't feel like it was as much as it is now. I just feel like there's so many big personalities in the coaching world at the moment.
I think it's come down. That's probably as a result of people looking at tactics more, kind of as a key identifier.
More respect for it.
Yeah, more respect for it. Maybe over analysis, looking at XGs and expected goals and assists and a more in-depth look at things. I think that's part. I think teams have to have or coaches have to have some sort of identity or I guess some sort of philosophy behind them, because when you think about it, Fergie didn't really have a philosophy. It was his man management and his titles and the longevity of his career that really gave him his identity and his philosophy. Whereas post Fergie, a lot of the coaches now, like your Mourinho's and your Klopps and your Peps and even like Cholo and even smaller names like Bordales and Bielsa, like they're all scholars of the game. Like it's almost as if we're back in the day where total football has just come back, or Catenaccio, or you had Arrigo Sacchi's Milan, where they're scholars of the game, and it's not about just get like it is obviously still about results at the end of the day, but it's not about what the result is, but more so how was the result achieved. Did the team win by I guess the key curriculum that the coach has, and his identity. Like you look at Conte, as soon as he was announced at Spurs, everyone's talking about three back.
Yeah.
How's that going to work? The wing backs, everyone's talking about goal contributions from wing backs and strikers and two up top, and whereas the days of just being a manager and putting out a team and making sure you win, it's not so much the case. It is. You do get the odd manager, like let's say, for example, Ollie before his meltdown this year, there wasn't really any tactics behind it, but the results are good enough so no one really, poked and prodded too much about what he's playing. Now the constant question is, well, what's his philosophy? Where's the pressing? Blah, blah, blah. We've talked about it, ad nauseum at this stage. So I think now, with the introduction of managers like Mourinho, where they tactically analyze everything to every degree, you've got Nagelsmann doing it, you've got Conte doing, 75-minute video sessions,
Yeah.
the reporting on the tactical side of things, the reporting of, or the I guess the profile of managers now is, what is your philosophy? What are you planning on playing?
Yeah.
It's no longer who's your favorite player, what is your lineup, blah blah blah. It's, well, like we already know what players you're probably going to play. How do you think? What are you going to change at the club? Everyone's, the reporting of managers is different as well. There's a lot more talk about, hey, what did he do on the training ground? What is he doing with the players? The Conte thing of like removing ketchup and pizza and changing
Yeah.
dietary requirements is a thing. That it's just that in the sense that players have their own individual styles, and that we always went, oh, this guy's tricky, this guy's strong, this guy's a great passer. Now managers kind of have those traits as well. Is he counter pressing? Is he possession based? Is he tiki?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you look at the kind of like you look at the root, the family tree of which their tactics belong. When you look at Guardiola, a Bielsa disciple, and a Bielsa is a disciple of this guy, and you look at Klopp, or Ralph Ragnick, and
Yeah.
you look at a coaching tree. It's almost like you trace the lineage like a family root, like Louis Van Gaal. He's a disciple of total football. Like it's such a very elaborate, long-winded thing about coaching now. It's no longer just put players out, get a result, thanks for coming. It's,
Yeah.
well, what's the philosophy behind it?
Yeah, I think it's because before managers might have just been more along the lines of, here's your 11, right?
Mm,
Get your 11 out there. There's not a whole lot of degree of separation between what tactics you're going to play to what anyone else in the league is going to play. It's all relatively the same, in the same sort of basket. You know what I mean? It's probably going to be a 4-4-2 or whatever the formation of the month is at that time. There's not a whole lot of inspiration going on. There's not a whole lot of innovation happening. You're not like currently in the Premier League, for example, you've almost got 20 different kinds of football being employed from top to bottom. There's no longer that sort of sense like in the Serie A where all Italian teams play the same. Whether it's the best or the worst, they all play the same, just at varying differences of efficiency. Whereas now it's like literally every team will have its own sort of philosophy, its own identity, how it plays. And I think that comes down to the fact that coaches now are given not only the control of, who your players are, who the formation you set out there, but they sort of put together these big, long projects like Bielsa at Leeds or Guardiola at Manchester City, or Klopp at Liverpool, and before that at Dortmund, where they sort of go through the whole system and they pick the players, how the players train, what sort of philosophy they get bedded in with, all that sort of stuff. It's a more holistic approach to coaching at the moment. I think before, like you say, it was more results based.
Yeah, it's also changed in how the teams are playing, because before you very much relied on getting the best out of an individual, whether it be Ronaldinho, Riquelme, Cruyff, whatever the name is. It was like, all right, I'm gonna go whisper to my best player, make sure you get some shit happening, and then everyone else will support you in your endeavor.
Yeah.
Now it's a whole team. You press as a team. You you pass the move. It's about pace and space, which requires a whole team from striker to goalkeeper nowadays as well to execute. And it's no longer, all right, best player, go score some goals, number 10. You gotta go get your
Yeah,
star,
be
your star
creative.
must find the brightest. You have to
Yeah.
carry our team. No, it's everyone is they are the best player, but everyone is also contributing to a larger picture on the pitch. So yeah, those are probably the difference.
Let's wrap up some of the hot goss things. I think something to touch
Tangent.
on. Dani Alves, man, going back to Camp Nou. Can you
Why?
believe it?
Why? I don't understand. Like, how is Barcelona? Where's the wage that Barcelona signed Dani Alves for? Like, where did they find that? Like, I'm
No clue.
genuinely curious. And what does it? What are they bringing him for? Like, is he gonna be like if he's there to become a right back shaman for Dest? Great, fantastic. But there's no chance he starts. Surely, right? He's not in a. Was he signed for you know a locker room presence, or like the bloke was out of contract. His last contract was in Brazil.
I have absolutely no idea. The only thing I can think of is that so Barcelona has like or had all these really strict rules and all this sort of stuff when Pep was there. And I'm assuming as we've gone from that sort of schoolboy La Masia Barcelona foundation to the more Luis Suarez, Neymar, all these big names that you're signing being the foundation of the team. I think all those sort of strict schoolboy rules got eroded away. Right. So the only thing I can think of is that Xavi is bringing in Dani Alves specifically to set the tone. Like, I'm going to bring in this guy that's clearly a veteran, and I don't think on this
He
team he's
played
going to.
with me. He understands it.
Well,
He's gonna
also,
be the ears on the ground.
he's going to by far and beyond. He'll be the most successful player on the team. Like, no one's even close, right?
Oh
Even
yeah,
it,
42 trophies.
yeah, even PK. Like, it's ridiculous, right? So if that guy comes in and follows all those rules, then who the fuck's going to speak up? You know what I mean? Like, you've got the veteran doing everything, so obviously you need to as well. You have to all fall in line if he does. That's the only thing I can really think of is he's being brought on to serve as an example as you can be a successful player and crazy because Dani Alves is insane by all accounts and still follow all the rules and be the professional we need you to be. That's the only thing I can think. Which if it is, and it turns out we hear in a couple months' time that he's won the locker room and everyone's following Xavi's 10 Commandments with no issue, then maybe it's a stroke of genius. But
Yeah,
from the outside looking in, it just looks like why.
Player personnel wise, it looks poor. But if it is like you say, so to bring someone who's done it before, who understands, who's played with Xavi and PK, and well respected at the club and so on, then fantastic. It's smart. But otherwise, on the pitch, I just don't see why.
The only other thing as well, if you're talking a player personnel type thing, if actually getting him on the pitch, is the right side is the weakest. I think they thought a bit more of Demir than what he's actually been providing for Barcelona. That's why we've seen Serginho Dest all the way up as right winger. The only thing I can think of is that he either sees Dani Alves as capable enough to play as right back, and allow Serginho Dest to continue playing right winger, which is very strange. Or the flip side, which is even stranger, he thinks that Dani Alves can fill in as a right winger in his later years, which is also strange. Like I in terms of getting him on the pitch, I actually can't really figure out a way how he's going to shoehorn him on there without leaving someone else that probably deserves the minutes over him. I think it's just a locker room thing.
I think so too, but look, he did play he was the captain at the Olympics. He did play with some youngins, so maybe we're missing, we're not connecting the dots.
Who knows, bro?
Who knows?
Hey, let's touch on let's just start, before we wrap up here. Let's go to Harry Kane because I thought this was funny. So I don't where did it come out that he was quoted saying this about how he handled the transfer thing?
I believe it might have been a Sky interview or some sporting news outlet in England. I want to say it was Sky, but essentially he just comes out saying, "Look, that old Man City saga, I think I did pretty well. Came out pretty clean. Didn't fuck it up. But no, unless you're living in a parallel universe, don't think so. Don't think so at all.
Like let's give him a bit of a scorecard. So it's like, how did he handle the business side? Poorly, because he had a handshake agreement with Daniel Levy, um, which on two fronts is wrong. One, it's a handshake agreement. Two, it's with Daniel Levy. Like, he's it's you gotta get something on paper, or take it public with your agent earlier,
Mm,
or make some sort of intention known before signing a 6-year deal. Like, don't give someone like Daniel Levy that much leverage over you.
mm.
Years and over half a decade of a contract over you. So that side's poor. And then let's see how he, like, if you look at just how he handled the I suppose, like, the
Saga.
communication to fans or whatever. Um, Also poor, because he did that shit with Gary Neville that made it seem like he was very clearly putting himself on the market. Um, Made Tottenham fans feel as if he doesn't really think a whole lot of them. That was poor. And then you go finally to what he's doing on the field, which is probably the worst of the three. He's playing terribly this season, but I feel like if he was just playing bad, you'd forgive him, because new coach, the team's not performing really well. He did go through the transfer saga, so you can sort of relate to all that. But there's playing badly, and there's not putting any effort in. And I think he's more so not putting any effort in than he's just trying his darndest, and it's just not ticking this season.
It's look. I think the fact that he hasn't made his intentions clear from the get go that he wanted to leave at all costs, doesn't matter if it's meant like ask Modric how handshake agreements go with Levy. You have prior examples to draw on, and a blueprint to follow. So I don't know. I just think he's a bit deluded in his thinking. I think whoever's advising him, if it is his brother, that's the agent from memory, or he's got a team. It's just I don't know, like it's just for this to come out, especially during a season like this for Spurs, where well, to be fair, in a year for Spurs, because they've had three managers in a year. Really, they had
Yeah,
Mourinho, they had Nuno, they've
Nuno,
had and
Conte.
now Conte. Like like you said, if he was playing because of all the choppiness, fair enough. But Kane has shown up for two managers, for Mourinho and for Poch, and even for AVB at a certain stint. He's played under different managers before. I don't think that'd be an excuse. I just think he's just he just can't communicate. I think the communication part is the worst. I think he should just say, "Look, Spurs, you've been great. Thank you so much for what you've done, but now it's time to leave. Time to go to greener pastures, essentially."
I think he's already let that boat sail, in my opinion. I think you shouldn't put pen to paper on that long a contract if you have them on a leash like that.
Mm.
I feel like at his age, when he signed that contract, because if you sign a 6-year contract at 20, 21, fair enough. You're thinking you love this club, they've given you everything in your career, fair enough. You've got
And
stars
you're
in
back,
your
and
eyes.
you're out of the contract in your prime.
Exactly. But when you're a player that's established, has a value, has gotten to certain things like Champions League finals and things like this before, you've seen what the club can do when it's at its best, right? You have a standard, right? Why set a standard that's beyond that, and then you're upset when it doesn't get met? You
Mm.
have research, you have evidence to base your opinion on, and your estimation for the future. Why would you set yourself up to fail like this? It makes no sense to me. And then the way he's handling it, if he handled it like a professional, and he's kicking and screaming saying, "Let me out of this club," but when he gets to being on the field, he puts his shift in and he still does everything the same, no problem. All good. You're doing your job and you're making it known you want to move on. Fair enough. But he's given us half-assed of both, which is
Mm.
worse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Let's wrap it up on the Harry Kane saga, huh?
No.
The old mouth breather himself. Let's follow us on the socials. At Lasco Wins Pod on Twitter. At Lasco Wins Pod underscore on Instagram. At Lasco Wins Podcast on Facebook. Um, all glory be to Bozza, and you can catch our replay on Spotify and YouTube. Play that song, huh?